Are you trying to figure out how to feel better on a more consistent basis, feel more upbeat and joyful? Well, today I'm going to talk through a certain formula on this. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra special point for you then as well. Now, admittedly, I'm making this on a Saturday and I'm going to post it as a Friday's episode. And the reason is, and if you haven't noticed, I switched my guests and solo episodes a little bit. So 2 guests a week and 3 solos. Now, the reason I didn't do anything yesterday was because, quite honestly, I was not in such a good place. I was very, very stressed. And yeah, it can happen to us. So I needed some time out and I got very exhausted. I needed some sleep. I needed to do some breath work. And I had to use quite a lot of my tools to really come out of the situation I was in. Yeah, this morning, Saturday morning, I felt amazing. I absolutely felt amazing. Sometimes you need to release a little bit of emotion in the right, appropriate way, of course. And when we build it up too much, it can, negative emotion that is, it can not cause some good feelings and it can cause some health issues and all sorts. And I've had that in the past. So this morning, Saturday morning, I went for a nice sunny walk. And I felt amazing. I had my coffee in my hand. I was in a beautiful country walk. I felt really present and on top of the world. I had ideas flowing through me. I'm one of those people that if I get ideas, I'm telling people in business, people I work with, like what ideas I've come up with and what we could start to implement in the businesses I work with in the sales teams. And I also like to document it so I can remember it for myself, so I can get myself back into that state as much as possible. And some of the things I felt in that moment were I felt present, I felt purposeful, I was listening to personal growth, I was on a walk, I wasn't checking social media as much, I was breathing well, and I wasn't concerned about challenges in the future. I was just very, very present in that moment. And I thought, maybe I can apply this more to life. Now, of course, there's going to be challenges that get me to think, get me on alert or the fight or flight response a little bit more. And I'll have to regulate myself back into a calmer nervous system by doing that. We all have ups and downs in life, of course, right? But it's important to recognize when you're in a good state, when you're really feeling good, and actually start noticing internally what you're doing, not external things that have happened. So if you're waiting on external things to happen, like someone gives you a job promotion or you get a business deal or you get a relationship, and all those things make you feel good, that's great. But start noticing actually internally, how are you acting? How are you breathing? What's your physiology like? And that's what I started to recognize. Because if you can apply that in another way, even to the most difficult situations, it's going to start improving the quality of your life. And I found that in the past when I started modeling things, even things that made me more confident, times when I was confident, I started modeling that and using that in other areas. I started developing more confidence. It's things like I was consistent. I was focused only on what I could do. And I got confident at something as a result. And therefore I started applying that to another thing. You have success formulas in you. You have a feel-good formula in you. You just sometimes may have forgotten what it is if you're going through a particularly hard time. And yes, it may be harder to apply when times are hard and good. Well, it will be. Yet, if you apply it consistently, imagine the results you can have. Now, ask yourself, how does that happen? Sorry, let me say that again. How is it helping you by going through the same things again and again and copying a formula that does not make you feel good? Because to not feel good, we have to focus on what's wrong. We have to look down. We have to be sad. We have to do habits that make us feel bad, right? So I've certainly been there many times when I've got more anxious, got more stress from following a formula that makes me feel bad. Unconsciously doing that. So when we can become conscious of what makes us feel good and apply that formula more, that's going to help, right? So the first thing I'm going to say in terms of some tips on this. Now, obviously, I want to state before this, obviously, if you're going for a serious mental health challenge or something like that, do seek professional guidance, because obviously applying something like this is just for if you're having like ups and downs standardly in life, right? Or even for like your confidence knocks and ups, trying to get you up into a good state. If you have serious challenges, obviously self-esteem, real serious low self-esteem, or those mental health challenges, do seek professional guidance, as I always say. So let's go through these 3 things. Right. Get yourself, first of all, into a neutral state. Right. This is not going to work if you're in a really bad place. If you're in a really bad place, you need to sit with yourself, be with yourself, bit of self-care, look after yourself. When you can get into at least a neutral state, when maybe you're not feeling sad, but you're not feeling ecstatic or massively happy either, right? Maybe you're feeling pretty neutral, pretty average, right? Get yourself at least there. If you're feeling amazing, even better, because it's going to be even more effective this, right? And if you want to get from a lower state, do stuff like exercise, do things like smart, even walking around with a smile on your face, do something like talking to someone who makes you feel better, okay? Get yourself into at least a neutral state. That's the first step. Ideally, the happier you can, the better you can feel in this, the more effective it's going to be. And then the next step is, depending if you're feeling neutral or awesome, or more awesome, it's going to depend. If you're feeling like neutral, I want you to think of a time when you felt absolutely on top of the world, you felt amazing, at your best, right? Or pretty awesome. And then I want you to write down, like I've just described, your formula. What was it? What were you doing, like internally in those moments where you focus on what you can control, where you focus on the great stuff in your life, how you're acting, how are you moving? What were you doing in your life? Okay. So that's the first thing. Sorry, that's the second thing I said. Well, that's the first part of it. Now, if you're feeling amazing, just start writing down what you're feeling in that moment. What are you doing? What are you doing internally? Not what's happened. Like maybe you've had a great result. That's fantastic. Celebrate that. But also start writing down what you're doing internally. You're focusing on a great result. So therefore, in future, if you're not such a good place, if you start focusing on the great results you've had in the past, then that's great. And the things that, and thinking about things that may come in the future, that's really exciting. Okay. So the second part is write down your feel good formula. If you're feeling neutral, just think of a time. If you're feeling bad, like I say, go back to step one and get yourself into at least a neutral state. If you're feeling neutral, think of a time. And if you're feeling awesome, start noticing and writing down what you're feeling right now. And then the third step is to read this daily. Read this to yourself every single day. I've done this for confidence formula, and I do it on like feel good formulas. And I reminded myself by this on the walk earlier. Write down, read it daily. Write it down and read it daily. That's to write it down daily. Obviously, read it daily. Start reading what makes you feel good, because that's going to teach your brain what to do. You can have control over your brain. You can teach it what to do, right? And then also, as an add-on to that point, still point three, is just schedule these things in your day. If it's like you need to focus on some good quality questions that you can ask yourself, 5 minutes a day, schedule yourself in the morning time to ask good quality questions. If you feel top of the world when you do a certain exercise or walk, schedule that in your day, right? So that's the third step, scheduling it in. Now, I've got an extra special point for you in a moment. So what I just wanted to touch on is tomorrow, Sunday, the 14th of May, I will be running for charity, for a children's charity, Great Ormond Street, who help a lot of ill and vulnerable children. Unfortunately, when I was younger, my baby brother died there. So if you're appreciating the content today and you feel like it's really giving you value and this message resonates with you, then you can check out my story below. And if you're feeling like it really resonates with you, any donation, no matter how small, will be highly appreciated as we raise money for the ill and vulnerable children. That is very close to my heart. So my next final bonus point for you is, if you're really like in a place and you think of something triggering about the future, maybe you're in more of a neutral state or something like that, and you feel like it's going to drag your mood down. This is one effective thing I find. I use Google Calendar a lot. I'm not a massive fan of these things like Motion and all that. It can help some people, but not me personally. You know, Google Calendar does a job. I can organize my own day. So what you can do is just put in your calendar time to focus on the challenge you're thinking of. If like a challenge about, oh, I've got to do this and some work comes up, or I'm really worried about this topic, or I've got to sort out that problem and it's giving you anxiety and stress, schedule it in your calendar so you can enjoy the moment you're in now, but you know you've got it scheduled in. So that's something that's really effective and helps me as well. So that's what I got for you today. Once again, if you would love or like to support the charity that I'm running from, helping some ill and vulnerable children, with living lives they deserve, then you can check out my page. I am running Sunday the 14th of May, so that would be highly appreciated if you want to check out my story and any small donation. So I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people's lives by being the best you. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.